It started the way most forgettable nights do: crowded bar, bad music, too many guys trying too hard. I wasn't even planning to go out. I had just finished a brutal work week, and all I really wanted was to melt into my couch with a six-pack and a streaming binge. But my friend Brian guilt-tripped me into it. Said I'd been hermiting for too long and needed real human interaction. So I went. I stood in the corner of some overhyped dive downtown, sipping a watery gin and tonic and wondering if anyone would notice if I slipped out early. That's when I saw him again. Jake. We went to college together, same dorm freshman year. He was one of those guys everyone liked. Funny, good-looking, in a quiet kind of way. Always surrounded by people, but somehow never loud himself. We were never super close, but we'd had a few late-night talks back in the day. Mostly harmless roommate drama. Exams, dating disasters. After graduation, we lost touch. So seeing him now, leaning against the bar, nursing a beer, and looking like he didn't belong here either, it threw me. I walked over. It just felt right. Jake? He looked up, surprised, then smiled. No way. Evan? We did the whole, how long has it been, back and forth, and I felt something shift, almost immediately. The bar faded a little. His voice pulled me back to something I didn't know I missed. It wasn't the drinks or the music or the forced smiles. It was how easy it felt to talk to him again. I didn't expect to run into anyone I actually liked tonight, he joked. Want to get out of here? Thought you'd never ask. It was meant to be innocent. We both laughed like it was a shared joke, like neither of us was making it weird. He offered to drive me home. That's when it changed. We pulled out of the lot, and I gave him my address, but he didn't plug it into his phone. Didn't even hesitate when we hit the first intersection. Just kept driving. You remember that little strip mall near campus? He asked, eyes on the road. I did. The one with the 24-hour diner and the parking lot where people used to hang out at 2 a.m. when they had nowhere else to go? Why? He glanced over at me, his smile crooked. Let's take a detour. Just want to talk for a bit. Catch up. I should have said no. I should have reminded him I had an early morning or pretended I had plans. Instead, I said, yeah, all right. 10 minutes later, we were parked beneath a flickering streetlight in an empty lot behind a closed laundromat. I remembered this place. Faded red bricks, broken vending machine, silence so thick it made you whisper even when you didn't have to. Jake killed the engine. The hum of the car stopped, and suddenly the quiet between us was loud. It's weird, he said, staring through the windshield. I used to come here when I couldn't sleep, sit and just think. About what? He exhaled, then laughed lightly. Life. Who I wanted to be. Who I was scared to be. The way he said it, it landed heavy, like he was testing the weight of his own words. I turned to him. And who were you scared to be? He didn't answer right away. Just looked over at me, his expression unreadable in the half-light. Then, so quietly I barely caught it, he said, someone who wanted this. This? I repeated, my voice catching in my throat. His hand was between us on the center console, fingers tapping idly. Close enough to mine that I could feel the heat. Close enough that I knew, if I moved even slightly, they'd touch. Being here, he said, with you. It used to scare the shit out of me. My chest tightened. Jake, I know, he cut in, looking down now. This is stupid. We haven't talked in forever, and maybe I misread. I didn't let him finish. I moved my hand, just enough. Our fingers touched, and neither of us pulled away. Our fingers touched, barely, but it felt like someone had slammed a cymbal inside my chest. Jake didn't move at first. He just looked at our hands, like he was watching something he'd rehearsed in his head 1,000 times, but never actually dared to do. Then his fingers curled, slow and deliberate, closing around mine. Not tight, just enough to say I'm here and I mean this all at once. It was strange, how still everything got. Like the moment existed, outside the normal rules of time. The night air seeped in through a cracked window, thick with the smell of distant rain and something faintly metallic, maybe the old laundromat vents. My heartbeat was too loud in my ears. I didn't say anything, and neither did he. That silence between us? It wasn't empty. It was loaded. Like both of us were waiting to see who would breathe first, who would blink, who would say the thing that would either open the floodgates or close them for good. Jake finally broke it. "You ever wonder if you missed something?" he said, barely above a whisper. "Like, if there was a version of your life that could have happened, but didn't because you were too scared to let it?" I swallowed hard. Yeah, he looked at me again, and this time he didn't glance away. "I think you were that for me. That version?" I didn't know what to say. Not right away. I mean, what the hell do you say to that? Especially when it's from a guy you haven't seen in 3 years. A guy you used to fantasize about back in your tiny dorm room, but always told yourself was way out of reach. Way too straight and way too off limits. But I wasn't a kid anymore. And something about the way he was looking at me now, like he was finally ready to stop running from himself, gave me the nerve, to be honest. "I used to wonder about you," I said. "Back then. There were these moments I thought maybe, but I convinced myself I was just projecting." "You weren't," he said quickly. "Not even a little." He let out this short, nervous laugh, then looked away again, rubbing the back of his neck. "I was just really good at pretending. I thought I had to be." We sat like that for a moment, his hand still holding mine, his body angled toward me but hesitant, like a step forward might make the whole thing disappear. I could feel the tension in him, not fear exactly, but that weight of vulnerability you carry when you finally stop lying to yourself. And for the first time that night, I wasn't nervous anymore. I shifted slightly, leaning a little closer, not touching him, not yet, but closing the space. His eyes flicked to mine, and the look he gave me, it was like he was asking for permission. So I gave it to him. I leaned in the rest of the way, not rushed, not dramatic, just close enough that our foreheads almost touched, close enough to feel his breath hitch. "If you're going to kiss me," I murmured, "you probably shouldn't wait another 3 years." He laughed, barely, and whispered, "You sure?" "I'm sure." And then he did. It was cautious at first, like we were both afraid to push too far and wake up from something. His lips brushed mine, feather-light, hesitant, but once I kissed him back, really kissed him, everything shifted. He deepened it. One of his hands found the side of my face, pulling me closer. His touch wasn't timid anymore. It was sure, warm and hungry in a way that made my skin buzz. Every inch of contact sent a current through me. The car was suddenly too small, the air too thick, his kiss too much, and not enough all at once. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard, eyes wide like we'd just come up for air after diving too deep. Jake ran a hand through his hair, laughing in disbelief. "I can't believe I just did that. You think I'm complaining?" "No," he said quickly. "God, no. It's just, I've wanted to do that since sophomore year. That night we stayed up talking about everything and nothing. I remember you laughing at something stupid I said and it hit me. I liked you. Like, really liked you." My throat tightened. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I didn't know how. I was scared I'd mess it up, that you'd pull away or laugh or just disappear." I squeezed his hand. "I'm still here." He smiled again, softer this time, more real. "So am I." We sat there in the quiet hum of the parked car, surrounded by nothing but night and possibilities. Neither of us said it, but we both knew. This wasn't just a detour anymore. It was a beginning. We didn't rush to leave. The parking lot was still empty, and the world felt paused, like the universe had granted us this weird little pocket of time where everything made sense for once. No pressure. No pretending. Just two guys sitting in a car, finally being honest. Jake let go of my hand to wipe his palm on his jeans, then laughed nervously. "Sorry. I'm kind of sweating." "It's like 90 degrees in here," I said. We just made out in a closed car with no AC. I think we're both allowed to sweat. He gave me a look, half grateful, half embarrassed, and leaned his head back against the seat, staring up through the windshield. "I can't believe I almost didn't come out tonight," he said. "I wasn't even going to go to that bar. My roommate dragged me." I smiled. "Funny, My friend guilt-tripped me into it too. So basically, Jake said, glancing at me, two gay guys were reluctantly dragged to the same crappy bar by their overly extroverted friends and ended up making out in a laundromat parking lot at 3 a.m. When you put it like that, it sounds kind of romantic. He laughed and then fell quiet again. I could tell he was thinking. His jaw clenched the way it always used to when he was trying to find the right words. "I don't know what this is gonna be," he said finally. I know I don't want this to be a one-night thing." I looked at him, heart thudding a little harder. "It doesn't have to be." His eyes softened. "You sure? Because, I'm still figuring shit out. I've never really done this. Been open about it. It's still new. Messy." I nodded. "Yeah, I get it. I've been there." He looked relieved, but still hesitant. "I don't want to drag you into something if I'm not ready to." "Jake," I cut in, "you're not dragging me anywhere. I'm here because I want to be. And I'm not expecting you to have it all figured out overnight." He turned toward me fully this time, his expression raw in a way I hadn't seen before. "I spent years avoiding this part of myself," he said quietly, telling myself it wasn't real, that if I ignored it long enough, it'd go away. My chest ached hearing that. "Did it?" "No." His voice broke a little. It just got louder. There was a long pause. He was staring at the dashboard now, eyes distant, like he was somewhere else. "I used to see guys like you, open, comfortable with who you are, and I'd feel so many things. Admiration, envy, guilt. I hated how easy it looked for you, because it reminded me how hard I was making it for myself." I didn't say anything right away. I just let him speak. There was something sacred about it, like I was watching him let go of pieces he'd been carrying alone for way too long. "I guess I thought if I kissed you," he continued, "it would feel like crossing a line, like something I couldn't take back. And now that I've done it," he trailed off. "You don't want to take it back," I said. He looked at me. "No, I really don't." We sat in that silence again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was full of things unsaid, full of possibility. "I think," I said carefully, "if you're okay taking this slow, I'd really like to see where it goes." Jake exhaled, like he'd been holding that breath for years. "Yeah, me too." He reached for my hand again, and I let him. Outside, a raccoon darted across the lot, and we both burst out laughing. Just like that, the moment shifted from serious to stupid in the best way. "You know," Jake said between laughs, "this isn't exactly how I pictured my first time kissing a guy." "No?" He shook his head. "In my head, it was always at, a concert or something. Fireworks, maybe. You got a flickering parking lot light and a raccoon." He grinned. "Honestly, kinda perfect." We didn't leave the parking lot for another hour. Not because we didn't have anywhere to go, but because we both knew the second we stepped back into the real world, everything would change again. Jake leaned back in his seat with his legs stretched out, one hand still loosely clasped around mine. He kept glancing over at me in this half-shy, half-odd kind of way, like he still wasn't sure this was real. "You're being weird," I said, nudging his knee with mine. He smiled, a little bashful. "I know, I still can't believe this is happening. You didn't think I'd say yes?" "I didn't think I'd have the balls to say anything, to be honest." I rolled my eyes. "You kissed me, Jake. That takes more than balls. That takes reckless bravery," he laughed. Or maybe I was just sick of pretending. That made me quiet for a moment, because I remembered how exhausting that was. The pretending, the smiling when people asked about girls, the long silences when you wanted to say something different, truer, but couldn't risk what it might cost. "You don't have to pretend anymore," I said softly. Jake nodded, but the look on his face dimmed slightly. "Yeah, except the rest of the world doesn't know that yet." "You worried about how they'll take it?" He hesitated. "Yeah, I'm not ashamed. Not anymore. I don't know, I've built this whole version of myself. Friends, family, everyone thinks they know me. And I've spent so long being that version, I don't know who I am without it." I understood that too well. The version of myself that wore sarcasm like armor. The version that laughed off anything too vulnerable. The version people accepted because it kept them comfortable. Then start with the people who matter, I said. The ones who love you either way. Jake looked over at me, eyes soft. That includes you? I smiled. Yeah, it does. His shoulders relaxed a little. He looked out at the empty parking lot, the distant glow of a nearby gas station barely cutting through the dark. I'm not out, he said quietly, to anyone, not even my brother. You don't have to rush, I said. Seriously, there's no timeline. But you are, right? Out, I mean, I nodded. Since college, some people took it better than others. Anyone cut you off? A cousin, a couple of high school friends. But I gained more than I lost. Jake sat with that for a minute. I'm not afraid of losing people, he said. I'm afraid of them not seeing me the same after. Like every interaction suddenly gets filtered through this new lens. That might happen, I admitted. But you know what else happens? The right people lean in. They show up harder. You realize who's real. He looked at me for a long moment, then squeezed my hand. You always talk like someone who's been through it. I have, I said. And I'd go through it again if it meant getting to this moment. He smiled, but it wasn't a confident smile. It was soft, unsure, vulnerable in a way that made me want to protect him, but also let him learn his own strength. What happens next? He asked. I shrugged. I guess that's up to you. Jake let go of my hand just long enough to reach for the keys and start the engine. Okay, he said, clearing his throat. Then, I want to take you home. Really? Now you want to follow directions? He laughed. Hey, we needed the detour. True. He shifted into drive and turned out of the lot. The streets were quieter now, the night deeper, like even the city was holding its breath for whatever came next. As we drove, he kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the console, fingers close enough to mine that they brushed every time we turned. Neither of us spoke much. We didn't have to. The silence wasn't awkward. It was full of new things. When we pulled up in front of my apartment, he didn't kill the engine. So do I get to see you again? He asked, not looking directly at me. I leaned over and kissed him, quick and sure. Yeah, I said, you do. Jake let out a breath that sounded like relief, and something else too. Hope. Good, he murmured. I opened the door and stepped out, turning to look at him through the open window. Text me when you get home, all right? Will do. And as I walked up to my building, I could feel his eyes on me. Not watching. Waiting. Jake did text me that night. Just one message, simple and short. Got home. Can't stop thinking about you. I stared at it for a long time, smiling like an idiot in the dark of my room. It didn't feel like something casual anymore. It felt like the beginning of something fragile and real. And I knew right then, I wanted to protect it. The next few days were a strange mix of normal and surreal. We didn't see each other right away, but we talked. A lot. Long texts. Late-night calls that stretched until one of us fell asleep mid-sentence. He'd send voice notes instead of typing. His voice groggy from bed, or echoing slightly as he walked his dog through the park. He told me about his childhood, his family, his job. Stuff he said he'd never talked about like that with anyone. I told him about my own coming out. The good, the bad. The friends who stayed and the ones who faded. He listened quietly, like he was collecting pieces of a roadmap for himself. One night, during a call, he said, I don't know how you did it, how you were so brave. I laughed. You think I was brave? Dude, I cried the first time I told anyone. I nearly threw up afterward. But you did it, he said. You still showed up. Yeah, I said, but only after I stopped waiting for someone else to go first. He was quiet for a second. Then, maybe you going first made it easier for me. That kind of hit me. The first time he came over was a Thursday. I'd half cleaned my apartment, even though I told myself it wasn't a date. He showed up in jeans and a black hoodie, hands jammed in his pockets, nervous energy trailing behind him. "Nice place," he said, stepping in. "It's all right," I said, "cozy if you ignore the water stains." We sat on my couch, a little awkward at first. He kept rubbing the back of his neck like he didn't know what to do with his hands. "Do you want a drink?" I asked. "Only if you're having one." I poured us whiskey over ice. He took a sip, made a face, and laughed. "I forgot I hate whiskey. You're the one who said yes." I smirked. He leaned back, a little more relaxed now. "Okay, so maybe I just wanted an excuse to be here." We talked for hours. TV shows, high school regrets, who we were back then, and who we were trying to be now. I learned he used to play guitar. He learned I still talked to my therapist from college when life got too loud. At one point, he reached over and took my hand again, this time like it was second nature. "I don't really know what I'm doing," he admitted, "with any of this." "That's okay," I said. "There's no rule book." Jake looked down at our hands, then back at me. "Can I ask you something kind of personal?" "Sure. Did you ever wish you could undo it? Like, make yourself not feel the way you feel?" I took a breath. "Yeah, when I was younger. When it felt like a curse instead of a truth." He nodded slowly. "Same. But now?" I said. "Now I know it's one of the best things about me." Jake looked at me for a long time. Then he leaned in, and it wasn't shy this time. His lips met mine like he'd been thinking about it all night. And yeah, I kissed him back. When we pulled away, he smiled softly. I think I'm starting to believe that. We didn't hook up. We didn't even make it to the bedroom. We just stayed there, curled up on the couch, trading quiet kisses and warmer silences. His head rested on my shoulder by the time the movie I'd put on ended. He'd fallen asleep halfway through, breathing steady, hands still tangled with mine. I didn't move. Not because I didn't want to wake him, but because I hadn't felt that kind of peace in years. Jake started coming over more often after that night. At first, it was little things. He'd drop by after work because he was already in the neighborhood. He'd text me pictures of his lunch or a song he thought I'd like. One Friday night, he brought over tacos and a half dozen beers like it was the most natural thing in the world. I figured it was either hang out here or listen to my roommate rant about fantasy football, he said, kicking off his shoes. This felt like the better option. "You're lucky I like tacos," I said. "You're lucky I didn't eat them on the drive over." That weekend, he stayed over. Not by accident, not with any excuses. He just asked would it be okay if I crashed here, and I said, yeah, I was hoping you would. We shared the bed, which wasn't big enough to be casual about it. There was no pretending not to touch, no pretending the space between us didn't matter. His body was warm next to mine, and every time I felt his breath on the back of my neck, I couldn't stop thinking how right it felt. Saturday morning, we woke up tangled together. No panic. No awkward scramble, just calm. He rubbed his eyes, looked over at me, and said, "I've never woken up like this before." Like what? Not regretting it. That hit hard. He kissed me, slow, sleepy, and I felt something in my chest loosen, like this was the version of Jake I was never supposed to meet. The version even he hadn't let himself be until now. We made pancakes. Badly. He nearly set the stove on fire. We ended up eating cereal in bed and watching bad reality TV, and every now and then he'd just look at me, not in a way that demanded anything, just like he couldn't believe I was real. Later that night, when the sky turned soft and violet through the windows, he asked, "Can I tell you something kind of stupid?" "Only if it's incredibly embarrassing." He rolled his eyes, then got serious again. When I was in high school, I used to imagine what it would be like to kiss a guy. I'd picture it in the shower, or right before I fell asleep, and then I'd spend the rest of the night hating myself for it. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I remember that feeling." He looked at me, his voice quieter now. "But then I met you, and I didn't hate it. I just wished I could be okay with it." "And now?" He didn't answer with words. He leaned in and kissed me again, deeper this time, more certain, and I knew. He was still scared, still figuring it out. But this wasn't a maybe anymore. He wanted this. He wanted me. We didn't define anything. Not that weekend. Not the one after. We didn't call it dating. We didn't say we were together. But we were becoming something. He'd text me good morning. I'd save him the last slice of pizza. He started leaving a toothbrush in my bathroom drawer. And I noticed it hurt a little when he left on Sunday nights, like I was already getting used to the version of my life that had him in it. We weren't rushing, we weren't labeling, but we both knew. We weren't going backward. Jake came out to his brother on a random Tuesday. I didn't even know he was planning to. He texted me around noon, just 2 words. I did it. I called him immediately. You did what? I asked, heart hammering. He sounded breathless. Told Mason. About me. About you. All of it. I sat up straighter. Wait, you told him about me? There was a pause. Then he said, yeah. I mean, I didn't plan to. It just came out. We were talking about this girl he's seeing, and then he asked if I was seeing anyone. And I told him, I said, actually, yeah, his name's Evan. I didn't know what to say at first. I felt stunned, proud, scared for him, and then proud again, 10 times over. What did he say? Jake exhaled a shaky laugh. He said, dude, finally. Wait, what? Yeah, Jake said, laughing now. Apparently he's known since college. Said he always had a feeling, but didn't want to push. I leaned back on my couch, grinning like a maniac. That's amazing. It feels unreal. Like I didn't even realize how heavy it was until I said it out loud. You sound lighter, I said. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then, I am. After that, things moved faster. Not because we forced it, but because it stopped feeling like we had to hide. We started going out in public together. Not just bars or low-key coffee shops. Real dates, museums, late-night walks. Once, he reached for my hand on the train, and I let him. I felt a few people glance our way, but he didn't flinch. Later, I asked, you okay with that? People seeing? He nodded. I want them to. Another night, he invited me to a party his friends were throwing. I was nervous. Not for me, but for him. I didn't want him to feel like he had to prove anything. But when we walked in, he didn't hesitate. He kept a hand on my lower back, introduced me as his boyfriend like it was the easiest thing in the world. That word boyfriend, it caught me off guard. Not in a bad way, just surprising. Real. Later, when we were alone, I asked him about it. You called me your boyfriend. He shrugged, looking sheepish. Too soon? No, I said. Just wasn't expecting it. You don't have to say it back. I want to, I said. I mean, if that's what we are. Jake looked at me with his half smile, the kind that crinkled the corners of his eyes. I think we've been that for a while, I nodded. Yeah, I think so too. The laundromat parking lot came up again a few weeks later. We were driving home from dinner and he suddenly veered off the main road. Where are we going? I asked. He grinned. Thought we could make a little detour. I didn't realize where we were until we pulled into that same cracked lot, under the same flickering light. He turned off the car, then looked at me. You know what I realized? He said. This was the first place I was honest. With you. With myself. He leaned in, kissed me, gentle and slow, and then said, I kind of love this shitty parking lot now. I laughed. You're ridiculous. Seriously. If I had to pick the place where everything changed, it's here. I looked around. The broken vending machine, the faded wall, the empty asphalt. Not exactly glamorous, I said. Doesn't need to be, he said. You were here. I shook my head, smiling like an idiot. You're such a sap. Jake just shrugged. Guess I'm allowed to be. You're my boyfriend. And there it was again. That word. But this time, it didn't feel surprising. It felt right. We sat there in that same parking lot, weeks after that first night, and it felt completely different. No flicker of panic. No wondering if we were crossing a line. No guessing what the other one wanted. Just us, the quiet hum of the engine, and the smell of rain in the air. Jake reached over and turned off the radio. The car filled with a comfortable silence. Do you ever think about how weird life is? He said softly. How one little choice changes everything, I smiled. All the time. If I hadn't gone to that bar, he said, if you hadn't been standing by the door when I walked out, if you hadn't offered me a ride, I added. He nodded. I almost didn't. I almost just waved and left. Would have been a hell of a missed opportunity, I said. He laughed, then turned serious again. I don't want to miss any more. I looked at him, heart thudding. You won't. He took a breath, his eyes holding mine. You make me feel like I don't have to keep pretending, like I can just be. I didn't think that was possible. You deserve that, I said. Everyone does. He reached out and touched my face, his thumb brushing my jaw. I don't know where this is going, he admitted, but I want to find out. With you. I leaned in and kissed him. Slow, certain. The kind of kiss that wasn't about lust or nerves anymore. The kind of kiss you give someone when you're already thinking about tomorrow. When we pulled back, I said, then let's keep taking detours. Jake grinned. Deal. We sat there for a while longer, talking about everything and nothing. Work, music, places we wanted to travel. He told me about a cabin his uncle owned by the lake and said we should go there in the fall. I told him about a gallery opening next week and asked if he wanted to come with me. It felt easy, ordinary, like the start of a rhythm we both wanted. When we finally drove away, the city lights flickering in the distance, Jake kept one hand on the wheel and one hand on my thigh, and I realized something. That night in the parking lot wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake or a fling or a one-off confession. It was a turning point. The detour wasn't just a detour. It was the road. Weeks later, when I think back on it, that's what I remember most. Not the first kiss or the first time he held my hand. Not even the surprise of realizing he liked me too. What I remember is the quiet moment in the car when we were just two people who had finally stopped hiding. The flicker of a streetlight, the hum of the engine, his fingers brushing mine. The moment that changed everything.